I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And again, thank you, Tim. Tim Anderson is from the Westminster Baptist Church. Now this meeting is officially called to order. If the clerk would please call the roll.
Councilmember Archibald?
Here.
Councilmember Haremza?
Here.
Councilmember Lamb?
Here.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Here.
Councilmember Payton?
Here.
Councilmember Pemberton? Mayor Ashford?
Present. Members, we have a quorum here. So members, you have before you the minutes of the City Council special meeting of December the 9th, 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem and second by, is that you, Terry?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb. Any discussion or changes or anything? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Roll call.
Do you want to roll or just as submitted?
Since I said it, you might as well
Okay.
call it.
All right. Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Bag that one up.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Payton?
Yes.
Mayor Ashford?
Yes. The second meeting, the regular meeting of December the 9th was 2024. Do we have a motion for those minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Mosrak and second by Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we can do it. We got to have some diversity to this, all right. Ayes have it, and the motion carried. Next, we will have our public hearings. If the clerk would call our first one.
To hear comments on the establishment of a plant rehabilitation district for the property located at 3500 24th Street. Following the hearing, council will consider a resolution to establish the district.
Do we have anyone in the audience wishing to address our public hearing number one? Sir,
We'll bring it up the next time. Yep. They're with the presentation.
Oh, you're with the presentation? Oh, okay. Okay. Is there anyone else that is not with the presentation would like to speak on behalf of public hearing number one? Go ahead, hearing and seeing none. Close. Okay, second public hearing?
We have to actually, there's a resolution to consider.
Oh, the resolution. Oh, I almost forgot that one.
I don't know if you want them to speak first.
Well, the presentation, are they going to do the presentation before we do it?
With the application, but we can do it now if you would like.
Okay, yeah, let them do it now.
David, why don't you come up? Come on down, we'll do it now.
And then it's make more sense to have it out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Very briefly, Mayor and Council, what you have before you in the Plant Rehabilitation District is very similar to what we have in with the industrial tax abatements, the PA 198, also very similar to establishing a district with our downtown Oprah. On the request that is before you is a 6-year tax abatement on the improvements planned for the old Prestolite building in the industrial park. It consists of about 30 acres altogether with about 350,000 square feet. We had our assessor go through and review the property and designate it as functionally obsolete. A lot of it was built probably in the 1920s, if not earlier. It has low clear heights, very short and narrow column spacing, and it needs upgrades to the roofing system, the electrical system, and the applicant is willing to make those investments. So I'll let them speak to their plans.
Thank you very much, Council. My name is Tarek Dunha. This is my partner, Marty. We're the owners of Port Huron Industrial Ventures. About 1 year ago, February will be our 12-month anniversary here in Port Huron. We purchased the old Prestolite factory, surrounding properties, a total of 11 parcels. We're only asking council for help on this one parcel in particular today. We're not looking for anything else. And Our goal was just to freeze the taxes currently. Unfortunately, the building suffers from lack of maintenance and it is functionally obsolete. We specialize in buying distressed assets, and we typically spend more money in capital expenditures improving the assets than what we pay for them when we buy them. So that is our commitment. When I was a kid, my dad always said, "Don't tell me what you're gonna do, show me what you've done." So I had Kathleen put together a little book for you guys to show you some of our before and after images and some renderings that our architect put together for this site. So we're just hoping that we can get some support so that we get a little bit of help. We can make this investment and be here for the long run. Any community we go into, we buy more than one asset, so we are eyeing other assets in the community. We do have some offers out. We are in negotiation, so we hope to do a lot more business here in St. Clair County. And if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Okay. Does the council have any questions?
Madam Mayor, if I could real quick, we met with these folks who are going to redevelop this parcel several months ago when this first came up. This is critically important to the South Park area. The Press Light facility is a massive facility. We don't have any available buildings in our industrial park right now, and we have no place to site new jobs immediately. This will help provide square footage available should a new company want to come in. There's a place they can move into right away. Also, storage is a huge issue within our industrial park. The number one demand we have is for storage, so people can store their dunnage and their good materials. It's just-in-time delivery to the Tier 1 suppliers, or to the big three from the Tier 1. So this is a critical need not only to support our industrial park, but also provide jobs in South Park.
And this is just the Press Light you're talking about?
That's correct. That's the only parcel we're seeking any abatement on.
Okay. Is there occupancy down there?
Right now, that building's about 50% occupancy. We're working with Huron House, which is gonna create about 15 new jobs for an expansion for a woman's shelter there to provide people an alternative, females that may have been caught up with a drinking and driving or a minor criminal offense, to give them an alternative to jail. And obviously, the employees in the women's shelter will be women. So that our first expansion we're doing is already going to create over a dozen jobs, and we are working to bring in tenants. Unfortunately, because the ceiling heights are low and the column spacing, we're going to get very limited rent. The companies we work with, we quote like $395 a foot, and that's a gross rental rate. So above and beyond that, we still have to pay for our snow plowing, grass cutting, taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. And that's why we were just asking for a little bit of help with just freezing the existing tax point on the property for the next 6 years.
And that makes sense, because it's been just sitting there in partial,
I tried to buy the property for over 6 years from the current owner, or from the past owner, Mr. Eckhart, and he just, he did the best he could with it, and he maintained it to the best of his ability, but we're not in the maintenance business, we're in the capital expenditure business. So rather than putting a patch on a roof 20 times, we replace the roof, rather than having a guy who's not equipped to deal with sprinkler systems replacing a fire sprinkler head. We bring in the professionals. So it's just the way we do things in order to have a high level of standard for our product. So we have some obstacles to overcome with functional obsolescence with the ceiling height and the column spacing, but I always say there's no problem the right price can't fix.
Mayor Ashford?
yes.
So is your intent to refurbish the building and then rent it, or is there already an intended use for the entire space?
Yeah, so our goal is to attract new tenants. We're currently working with a number of different companies in the industrial park for additional space. We had a solar company that is a startup come in from Genesee County that was looking at 25 to 30,000 square feet. So our goal is to offer a below market rent and be that low price point to bring value to people in the community. One thing we also want to do is set up a industrial incubator so small businesses can have space, whether they need 1,000 square feet or 2,000 square feet, and they can, we'll use our high-lows to load and unload trucks for them. So we're looking to have a cartage business that we would operate to service as well, but that wouldn't exceed more than 20,000 square feet of the footprint. So our goal is to just bring in some users that want good, clean building with cheap rent.
And do you have a timeline for this?
So we, since our purchase, we've already spent $1 million in the building between the equipment we bought, getting our roofing started, starting on the fire sprinkler work. So we're already underway. If you drive by there, you'll see the back part of the building already has the cupolas all redone with all new pole barn metal. You'll see the white vinyl TPO roofing product that's going on. We obviously pulled a permit with the city of Port Huron for that. We also have applied for a permit to add 4 new loading docks with 2 small additions to the building. Part of the building is plagued with not enough truck docks, so we're gonna be investing $400,000 just for more truck docks so that we can attract tenants, as opposed to saying, hey, if you come here in 6 months, I can build you a truck dock, and then we lose the deal because we're not equipped to handle it at the time of the client's need. So we're doing all these things proactively to attract tenants, to show the property in its best light. So we're already underway with those improvements.
Thank you.
No problem.
Are there any more
Mayor
questions?
Ashford,
Councilwoman
thank you for being here, and thanks for putting the booklet together. It's very
Thank you.
informative and
Glad to be
helpful.
here.
I'm just curious, did you guys also purchase the lot to the east of the building?
Yes, is that
Okay.
the big lot? out
Yeah,
front
that's,
of
they do a lot of the
Yes.
bus training and stuff there.
That's
yeah.
correct,
Okay,
yes.
you do own that also, okay.
Yeah, we have a total of 11 or 12 parcels, and as I said, we're only asking for help on this one. We didn't want to burden the system, and we didn't want to ask for anything we didn't need. So we just wanted to be conservative with what we ask for, as opposed to, asking for the world.
Sure, thank you.
Are there any more questions of council? Well, that's very kind of you, just not to ask for the world, just for a little bit. We'll take it.
I'll take what I can get.
No, that's okay, because I think when we do this, and that's why government have these tools that we can use to help in this way to induce more businesses to come into our area and stay here and be able, because after the 6 years, you're going to be paying us back
Absolutely.
double for that.
And by then, hopefully I'll be able to raise the rent.
Okay, great. Okay, so council, hearing no more questions or anything, can we get a motion?
So moved.
So
Support.
move it. Mayor Pro Tem, and supported by Councilmember Mosrak. Roll, please.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes,
Councilmember Peyton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Ashford?
Yes. Okay, well,
Thank you guys
Congratulations.
very much. I really appreciate it. Glad to be a
Yeah.
part of the
And
community.
thank you.
Thank everyone. Have a great evening.
okay, and you also.
happy to be here.
Okay, happy to have you. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to public hearing number 2.
To hear comments on the application for an industrial facilities exemption certificate for a rehabilitation facility at 3500 24th Street for 6 years. Following the hearing, council will consider a resolution to approve the application.
Okay, do we have anyone present that would like to speak to number 2, public hearing number 2?
No, this is just, we already established the district, this is the application.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So hearing and seeing none, closed. Okay. We don't have to vote on that, do we?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Could you call a roll on that for me?
You need a motion first.
Oh, you need a motion first, and then a second, and then a discussion, then we'll move it.
Motion? So moved.
A motion, so moved by Councilmember Lamb, and second by
Support?
Mosrak. Okay, it's been moved and properly second. There's no discussion. Motion carried.
I'll take them.
You can take the roll on it.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Peyton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Mayor Ashford?
Yes. Now we are at the time where we hear public comments, and anyone wishing to address the city council on any agenda item or any matter under the city's jurisdiction. Now is the time to do so. You are allotted 1 4-minute opportunity to make your comments, and so please begin by respectfully saying your name and your address, and You may come to the podium here. Don't be shy.
Good evening.
Okay.
My name's Carrie Angie. I was just elected your District 2 Commissioner. I wanted to thank you and congratulate Mayor Ashford and everyone who's been seated on this council. And if the gentlemen were still here, I wanted to congratulate them as well. I wanted to tell you, please don't hesitate to ever call me. My personal cell phone or the office over at the county building. I'm available at all times to discuss any issue of concern for this council or anyone that lives in the city of Port Huron. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Anderson.
Hello, members of the City Council. Thank you very much for hearing me. My name is Anderson Grandstaff, and I'm an attorney. I'm speaking here, and I live at 238 Summit Street in Ypsilanti, Michigan. I'm here to address letter G, which is unfinished business here, regarding the special land use permit from MS Industries. With the council's permission, I did have a few visual aids, and I understand that my time is limited, but I did want to quickly set those up. One moment.
Oh, excuse me. When it comes up before action, we'll do that, okay? Time back here.
That's totally fine. I apologize.
Oh, no, don't apologize, it's okay.
I did just want to speak as to what happened since the last hearing when this matter was under consideration. We had a roundtable discussion, which was attended by David Haynes and several other employees of the city, myself on behalf of the applicant, as well as several of the local residents who had previously written letters and made comments in opposition to the application. And at that roundtable discussion, I think, was very productive. We sat down with the concerned residents, and they told us, and they were very candid, that more or less, no matter what the applicant did, they were not going to be in favor of the facility going into place. And we said that we understood that, and that was their prerogative. But we asked, what can we do to make this more palatable, better, and more acceptable for you? And we came up with a lot of good solutions that I'm sure we'll get into when I have the visual aids. And based on the feedback that we got from all of those residents, we've made some fairly extensive changes to the site plan. We removed 2 of the entrances and 1 exit that were located on Division Street, and moved the only point of entrance and egress to 10th Street. And we made substantial modifications to the site plan in order to accommodate that. We added additional landscaping to address a border with one of the landowners that we filled in with additional landscaping and trees to further mitigate any sound, light, or noise pollution that would be coming through. We also, at the suggestion of David Haynes, reached out to other city employees, including, I believe, the city assessor's office and the chief of police, regarding whether there had been any reports that the existing marijuana retailer facilities opening had negatively affected either property values or led to any increased reports of criminal activity. And those 2 city employees informed us that there was no reported decrease in property values for the facilities in the area around the facilities that had already opened. And that aside from some parking complaints for one particular facility located in the downtown area, which did not have on-site parking, there were no increased reports of criminal activity. I'll go over this more, I'm sure, when we have the actual discussion on this, but I wanted to reiterate that we have been very responsive to the concerns in the community, and that we are committed to working in order to make this facility the best that it can be for everyone in the area. We've made extensive changes and accommodations, and one thing I should mention is that in order to address some concerns raised at the last council meeting, we also commissioned a traffic study of the affected area using the new site plan. And the conclusions of that traffic study, which I believe was circulated to the council and to the affected residents ahead of this meeting, the conclusion was that opening the facility would not have a significant impact on the traffic in the affected area. So at this point, I'm respectfully asking that the council approve the application. And one last thing I would like to state is that I do believe that Council Member Jeff Pemberton is not in attendance tonight. It's my understanding that he's been furnished a statement to be read on his behalf. I would ask, in the event that the vote ends up being tied or hung at 3-3, that we consider postponing this so that we can allow Council Member Pemberton the opportunity to vote on this. And with that, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. Oh, and if any of the council members had any technical questions about the new site plan or any of the things that I've outlined here, we do have a member of the company who worked to create the site plan here to answer any of those technical questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward?
Howdy, Tyler Moldovan, 1412 Pleasant Place, Lightship neighborhood. I see that there are still some cups nearby the microphones. Just to touch on that brave testimony from last meeting. Maybe there's no ice in the cups anymore, but I haven't heard it, so congratulations. However, I'm sure the folks watching at home will be appreciative. However, I would like to speak in favor of that marijuana dispensary proposed on 10th Street Division there. I'm no longer a patron of these shops, but I broadly support their opening across the city. I've listened to many of the concerns the residents have had inside this room here. I understand their points, but the studies that were presented to you guys in the most recent minutes package by the company here showed there really are no negative impacts to crime, traffic, or drug use in that neighborhood, or in any neighborhood throughout the city. I would know that because I live in the Lightship neighborhood, and there is a dispensary that opened up over there right off of Stone Street, right in my backyard. And there were lots of NIMBYs who wrote into council during that time expressing concerns over that dispensary opening. And there have been no negative impacts. No traffic concerns. I walk up and down there all the time. My favorite spot is the Brian's drive-through eggery. That's the closest convenience store, so I walk by there quite frequently and have never had any major issue with anybody. And I also commend everyone who was on council at that time that voted yes on that. This dispensary opening up would actually be on the farthest south border of the city compared to any of the other dispensaries that we have. So that's important for access as well as for walkability. Having these dispensaries distributed throughout the city, just like any other business or type of housing, is important to meeting walkability goals. And I am thankful that they weren't just concentrated in an industrial park or something like that, because that limits access for people. And, having to drive to a place, bars with parking lots seem a little ridiculous to me, but having access to these things and walkable in people's neighborhoods, I think, is a positive overall. And it's also my understanding from the drawings presented by these gentlemen here that they will be adding more street trees to that. I haven't seen the most recent rendering, but I saw the ones from the last meeting. And the south side of Port Huron and Midtown areas have been quite devastated in their tree canopies. So I think that, you can expect that from me to be very excited about the addition of trees in the boulevard there. So I would request you all to vote yes on this to increase the access throughout the city. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like?
Hi, Council. Kathy Nugent, 1014 Beard Street. Lived here, bought my house in 1983, been here a long time. I've heard a lot of people talk about these marijuana stores that are coming. There's quite a few here already. There's a few here already. I'm under the understanding there's only one that allows usage on property in a lounge. All the others are just a store. They're formatted almost like a bank, Your Honor. You have to show your ID to go in. They run your ID, then you wait. You are escorted into the next room where there's a counter, where there's the products. You make your decisions, and then you're escorted out. There's no loitering. There's no hanging out. You're not allowed to hang out in the parking lots and use anything. So I just wanted to, there's been a lot of discussions, but nobody ever talks about, and Mr. Fried himself had mentioned that, well, he didn't see a lot of traffic at these stores. He doesn't think they'll last very long. And I think it's just a misconception of the concept of the stores. It's not where you hang out. It's not like Kroger's where you just walk aisles and lollygag around. It's very structured. You get your couple minutes to go do your thing and then you leave. So that's why there's not a big buildup in the parking lots. And that's why I would think there wouldn't be a big problem with odors or hangabouts or loiterers. It's just not allowed. And I just think some people had not made that very clear to everybody that aren't aware that that's how they go. So it's not like it's gonna be all traffic jam or, people just hanging out, laying around. One old gentleman had mentioned a layabout like an opium den, and it's just not that way. There is one place in town that allows usage on property, and you have to buy a product there, consume it there, and then you leave. You don't get to just bring in stuff or bring your own or anything like that. So I just thought maybe we'd make that clear because nobody has seemed to make that part very clear. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Ma'am, what was the name, Madam Mayor? What was the name?
Kathy Nugent.
Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am.
Okay, you're welcome. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Thank you.
Tammy Jones, 931 Minnie Street. As everyone probably knows, I am opposed to the marijuana establishment going there in my backyard. I may not beat it, but I emailed everyone on the council today. At one of the previous meetings, the legal counsel for the city talked about 8 points that people should consider, you guys should consider if it were to be turned down. So I gathered some information regarding them. I know there are a lot of people that are in favor of these and go to these. I mean, I'm not. I don't want it in my backyard. I may not be able to avoid that, but that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it just like they are. They talk about property values and all that. The Times Herald just had an article in there about property values dropping by 3% everywhere. So I forgot to print that. But if that's the case, having a 2-story family home with a big city lot that most people don't have, if I were to sell my house and had a family coming in that was, a young family, that may be a major drawback to try to sell my home, that there's a marijuana establishment that their kids are going to be playing next to. Maybe not, I don't know. Maybe their parents will be into it, I don't know. But those are my concerns. I hope that everyone got to see the email that I sent out with some points that I pulled up. As I put in there, I did have pictures of, some of their other establishments that went to one of those 8 points about it being in harmony with our neighborhood. And yes, they're saying the pictures they showed us at the roundtable meeting, and I do appreciate them having that. He was very, very nice and listened to all of our concerns. Unfortunately, it seems like most of the people that voice concerns in our neighborhood don't show up to the city council meetings. But I'm here to voice mine, that I don't want it there, and I hope the information that I gave you guys is something you guys will consider. I'll have to live with whatever your outcome is, and hopefully it's not going to be an issue. Like I said, I do appreciate the roundtable meeting. That was very nice. We got to voice our concerns, and I know they were making some, if it goes through, we're going to make some changes to shrubbery and that along another side of my fence, which I appreciate, but no matter what they do, I'm not gonna like that there. That's what I told them, I don't ever plan on visiting it, so I can't, attest to what she said. I know what they tell us, what people have to do to go in. It's not something I ever plan to do. So if it comes, I hope there's not an issue, but if there is, I hope that we don't get the short end of the stick if we have to move. That's my concern through all of it, besides it being in my backyard, is what happens, when we want to do that. I hope it doesn't have a negative effect on our neighborhood. But I appreciate you guys listening to me. Like I said, I'm sorry that everyone else that says they have these concerns don't show up and voice their opinion, but I want to voice mine.
And you have every right. Thank you. Is there anyone else that, come right on down.
Hello, I'm Curtis Carl, Portland Township. I got a few things here I want to talk about tonight. We'll start with the roads. It's this time of year, the roads are swelling up, spitting out all the crap that we keep putting them in them every year. guys need to keep track of where all these problems are. They're excessive. People are losing rims and tires out there. There was a bad one on 10th Street by the dispensary. Lapierre's a wreck, from 24th all the way to Military Street. It's shit. 16th Street from Lapierre to Gillette, that needs some attention. 16th Street's a pretty solid road, a lot of concrete, but that concrete's falling apart. Get down 16th Street at Electric, better hold on to your ass. That damn, there's some big holes down there. 24th Street from Dove to a block north, that was done a few years ago. Did we short them a few bucks? Because it just, from Dove to a block, they just didn't do it. They did it from that block all the way up 24th Street. They ground out 24th Street, it's beautiful, but a block before Dove, and it's very noticeable when you're going north or south. That block on Dove, you'll know what I'm talking about. Why did they stop? It's just, I'm clueless on that one. On 16th Street from Lapeer to Harrison School, great job on the asphalt surface. Okay, when I ride up 16th Street, the manhole covers, they're not all on the same surface. So when I go up Gratiot on the north side of the bridge, where, you know, people get accused of being high society up there, paying more taxes, I don't know what the deal is, but you drive Gratiot, they got these nice, beautiful cemented rings around all the manhole covers that they recently did. I'm not sure if they came in and they adjusted all the manhole covers and put them on the same plane. So if you drive Gratiot from, you know, the bridge all the way up to where it stops there at Holland, it's very smooth. All the manhole covers, you go over them, you feel them a little bit. Go down 16th Street between Lapeer and Harrison School, bad. I drive that every day, so it's a little game. I drive around them. It's kind of silly. Shouldn't have to play these games. Well, then I guess we can move on here. Surfing the old sewer of social media, like James likes to call it. And there's some, Julian, he doesn't come to these meetings now. He left state. Kind of odd, but he's got a lot to say. And on the 19th of December, his mission in Port Huron has always been to end food insecurity permanently and as soon as possible. And is he glad that James Freed decided to plant a few fruit trees and get pressed about it? Of course he is. He also James has also cost Julian thousands of dollars, hundreds of hours of labor, literally years of his life, blah, 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 trying to prevent him from doing the same thing for like 4 years. I've seen him around here for the last 2. Even now, the guy's in a lot of debt from this journey, cost him everything, and monetary value that he owns, but he says, yay for a handful of fruit trees, I guess. Thought that was kind of funny. And then on the old social media, I also found another, Gary Goulet has a little poll here about the pocket park. Want to know if the pocket park's going to be completed this year 2? Will it not be completed, or should we have kept the trees? And in the comments, somebody's like, 4 benches, idiotic. Who the hell designed that? And it's just, there's a piece of glass broken already, handrail's not done. Let's do better.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to come before the council?
Good evening, Eileen Tesh. I have 2 matters. The first one is respect with my FOIA. I FOIA'd the city regarding the contract between Comcast, Thumbcoast TV, and the city of Port Huron. It was granted in part and denied in part, and it was denied because of privacy. Now, I don't know what that means, but you sent me a letter, Mayor Ashford, because I asked you, you ran on transparency and accountability. I want the financials, I want the account. It was all bragged about in the Positively Port Huron $40,000 publication. And your response to me was, I talked to James and he said this is all we have. Okay, in the article it specifically says contract will be signed this week and the work is already being done. I want to know who's paying for it and how much, because I understand to have this Comcast station is very expensive. So I'm asking you to take another look at it. I will file the judicial review if the judge finds that, in fact, you failed to provide those documents. You know what, the $1,000 fee for every request. The second issue is, I have to read this to you. This was in the Detroit News, December 28, 2024, and it was an article by Nolan Finley. Nolan Finley is an award-winning editor, been around a long time, and it has to do with the Temujin Kensu case. Temujin Kensu is an innocent man. I'm not saying that, many have said that, particularly a retired detective lieutenant from Port Huron who has been working on this case for over 20 years. Kensu was convicted of the Port Huron killing of Scott Mecklin in 1986 in what prosecutors insist was a jealous rage. Mecklin was engaged to Kensu's ex-girlfriend. The murder occurred at St. Clair County Community College. There were no eyewitnesses to the crime and almost no physical evidence that could be tied to Kensu, who was living in the Upper Peninsula. Witnesses have come forward who place him in Escanaba, 435 miles from the crime scene, just a couple of hours after the murder. Prosecutors got around that alibi by convincing the jury that Kensu, who had no apparent financial resources, could have chartered a private plane to fly back and forth to Port Huron. No evidence of such a flight was ever presented. In 2010, federal judge Denise Page Hood in Detroit agreed Kensu was wrongfully convicted and ordered a new trial. But the appellate court overturned her ruling on a procedural technicality. And she also found there was ineffective assistance of counsel and prosecutorial misconduct. I don't know if that rings a bell, but that was Judge Robert Cleland, who was the prosecutor at that time. Still a dark spot on this community, and now we have a young man that was murdered at the Roche Bar, and still no answers, nothing done. You've heard Mr. Ken Harris come here and ask for a special prosecutor in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forth? You.
Kathleen McCready, 414.
Ms. Tesh, I'll answer your question about the TV station when we're done, so if you don't want to leave, you can stay.
Or I'll call you.
Oh, you can stay, 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes?
Oh, wait a minute, you didn't ask me if you could have 5 minutes. I'll run in the meeting at last. If you gotta go, you can go, but we're gonna go on with our agenda. And you can still respond to her, she could bring it up at home.
Thank you.
You're welcome, bye now. The people out here are more important, go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. South.
Kathleen McCready, 414 14th Street. It's not really my battle, but the pot shop on 10th Street. People say they're not busy and that it's, I've lived in my house 30 years. The gas station, the Marathon gas station at 10th and Lapeer used to be a little tiny kiosk. Cigarettes and gas, maybe a bottle of pop. Now it's flourished into, and I don't know how, multiple pumps, hot pizza, hot chicken, you know, and the congestion on 11th Street is unbelievable. So to say that it's never going to be a detriment to the neighborhood, I'm sorry, I can tell you from experience, is not true. Do we have the right to stop the business? I don't know. Do we need more pot shops? I don't think so. Are they busy? The one at 10th and Lapeer, some days is busy, some days it's not, you know. We took great care in our neighborhood when Dale wanted his sub shop at 14th and Water, and thankfully that has turned out to be an asset to the neighborhood and not a detriment on traffic. I guess my point is neighborhood preservation, and if these people are telling you it's an active, healthy residential neighborhood, then to me, that should be the first marker of your decision. Because in Harrison Point, we are still suffering from boarded up houses, burned out houses. Okay, one is being repaired now, maybe two, but they're still being abandoned, they're still being repossessed. And when they're refurbished at $180,000, I don't know how we can still have a bombed out, burned out house next to a $180,000 house. So please just take care and caution and respect the neighborhoods. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to address the council this evening? Okay, all minds are clear, okay. So we will move forth.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to address.
Oh, okay, just a minute.
I think
What did you, okay.
with the idling Tesh, I think it's very important when people make critical misstatements. Ms. Tesh has a lengthy history of coming to the council meetings, throwing out false and bombastic accusations, and then leaving before a response is made. This TV station, this is the same statement I made in the last council meeting. We have spent no money on a TV station. We have what's called a franchise agreement with Comcast that gives us a local government PEG channel, Channel 6, that you already know. They are going to digitalize that channel for us, so an analog channel takes up this much, a digital channel takes up this much, which means we can now have a 6.1 channel at no additional cost. Thumb Coast TV, in collaboration with our conventions and visitors bureaus, have long been the economic development channel for the city of Port Huron. The franchise agreement allows us to have an economic development channel that promotes the businesses in the community and the activities in the community. At no cost, Thumb Coast TV is going to facilitate for this channel for us, that they already have a studio, can directly feed up to Comcast. There will be a very, very short operational agreement that our city attorney is working on. We should have that in a month or so when we're ready to go live. That will have no cost to the city of Port Huron. We would never invest in a TV station or anything like that. So that is a false accusation that Ms. Tess continually makes. She did FOIA us, but as I said, there's nothing to FOIA because our 40-year-old franchise agreement is still there. There's no cost or anything like that to FOIA. There's nothing to get. You can't FOIA something that doesn't exist. There was one document that had, we redacted 2 lines under the FOIA law for privacy. That data was actually the IP address and MAC address for the server at Thumb Coast TV. Those are what hackers would use to hack into Thumb Coast TV. Under the law, we have the right to redact that under the privacy of that private business, which is why when we don't provide something in our FOIA, we redact something, I have to give you a legal reason why we redacted it. So it was the server addresses to prevent hackers and from that information making it online. So that is why some of her FOIA was redacted. But there is no contracts, there is not, on her little blog, she said hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even $1 million, not a chance in I'll get out. So anyways, we do want to address it. As for the Pocket Park has been a dismal failure. The contractor has failed us completely. We are now moving toward litigation with the contractor for failure to complete the project. We do hope to have that project completed before summertime. It is still the hope. And as for the 24th Ave project, that's in the township. That was a road commission project. The reason why I stopped 1 block from Dove is because that was the end of their jurisdiction and where they could spend their federal block grant.
So case in point, we don't have anything to FOIA. Is that
No,
right?
I mean,
Okay.
we've told her this,
All right.
but I think it's clear to the public that when someone comes up and throws out bombastic remarks and then leaves before we responded to, we know what she just wants to put on a show and drive back to her 45 minutes south end of the county.
Okay, so whatever somebody wants to do, sure, whatever,
Yep.
we're still respectful to whoever comes here. And,
And out of respect, I want to answer your question for the second time.
yeah, but no, for the third time.
Yeah.
He was on your third roll.
Mr. Freed, if I may, is the city considering possibly planting a mature tree there because so many people are upset that the tree was taken down?
Yes.
Would that be an option?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then have wood chips?
Yeah, it wasn't an option to take down that tree, but yeah, we do want to put another more mature tree there. As someone mentioned the trees tonight, it's a great point. There has been deforestation throughout the city for the last, I'd say 20 years. They do a road project, chop down trees, and then no trees got planted, specifically in the south end of the community during the CSO project. We have made it intentional to plant 100 trees every year for the next 10 years, 1,000 new trees. We're well ahead of that. It is costly to plant mature trees. Everyone thinks of Earth Day, you get the little sapling. Well, most of those die. We plant at least a 3 to 4 inch tree in these neighborhoods. We've planted several hundred. If you look at some of the road projects now, the replanting of trees are now in the bidding documents. Specifically, most recently, look at Gratchit, the trees that got replanted.
These
There's
are
part.
arborvitae trees?
No,
The
no,
same one? They're
no.
different? We
Yep,
do
these
it?
are different. So we do, I think the SEMCOG has released a whole host of studies on the benefits of having tree canopy. Our goal is to increase our tree canopy by at least 30% in the next decade, which I think is possible. And there's a whole host of environmental reasons, not only that, with public health reasons as well.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else want to shout out about anything? Everybody clear up here? Terry, that pretty smile you got, okay. All right, so, you finished, James?
I am, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we will continue here. Okay, public comments are closed, and now we will move forth to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mayor Pro Tem Archibald and second by Councilmember Lamb. Call the roll.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Payton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Ashford?
Yes. And the following items that are on the consent agenda, and they're on the consent agenda because they're not controversial, we didn't have to have a lot of discussion or anything, and so they're really not like run for the mill because they're all important and we do read upon them, but these are the ones that we don't have to put a lot into in order to have just one vote on them all. So I will proceed to read those on the consent agenda. Resolution number 2, adopting the emergency support plan for the city of Port Huron in support to the St. Clair County Comprehensive Emergency Management Program. And resolution 3, approving the combined St. Clair County Association of Fire Chiefs Mutual Aid Agreement and the amended Michigan Mutual Aid Box Alarm System Association interlocal agreement between participating political subdivisions to secure emergency support during an emergency, disaster, or serious threat to the public health and safety. Resolution number 4, approving the performance resolution with the Michigan Department of Transportation for the right-of-way permit to construct, operate, use, and/or maintain utility or other facilities, or to conduct other activities on, over, and under state highway right-of-way at various locations within and adjacent to its corporate limits. Resolution number 5, approving the scheduling of a public hearing for January 27, 2025 to receive comments on the general needs in community development, housing, and special services utilizing CDBG and home funds, and scheduling a second public hearing for April 14, 2025 to hear comments on a proposed 5-year consolidated plan, and that's 2025 through 2029, and 1-year 2025 annual action plan. Resolution number 6, approving the scheduling of a public hearing for February the 10th, 2025 to hear comments concerning liquor license delinquents, payments of taxes, utility payments, and/or income tax reporting payments. Resolution number 7, confirming the mayor's appointment of Craig Peterson to the Planning Commission for a term that expires August 11, 2025. And the reason this is a 3-year term, but that's just a partial term. It's something that is at the discretion of the city clerk. She took that, so he could look forward in the future to a full term. But this one is just a partial term. Resolution number 8, confirming the appointments of Daniel Lavelle, Mary E. Seeley, and Gary Stout to the 2025 Board of Review with compensation in the amount of $600 per year per member, and setting the Board of Review meeting dates. Resolution number 9, approving the appointment of Councilmember Terry Lamb and Councilmember Barbara Payton, alternate, to serve on the Blue Water Area Transportation Committee for the term to expire on November 24, 2027. Resolution number 10, appointing Mayor Anita Ashford as the City Council delegate to the Southeast Michigan Council of Government, known as acronym as SIMCOG. And we have ordinance number 1, second reading and enactment, an ordinance to amend Chapter 52 zoning, Article 3, District Regulations Division 1, generally of the Port Huron Code of Ordinance to add Division 19 Plan Unit Development, a zoning district intended to permit the private or public development or redevelopment of area zone PUD throughout the city of Port Huron. PUD, what is that acronym?
Plan unit development.
Planning and development, okay. I just want to make sure we throw all these things out here and people don't know what you're talking about, so it's planning and development. Okay, and, well, I think I done ran out. That's all we have under the consent agenda. Okay, now we will go back to our unfinished business.
Discussion on the special use permit request from MS Industries LLC to allow marijuana retail at 1814 10th Street. Following discussion, council shall make a determination to either deny the request or to grant the request for the special use permit.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Support. Motion by,
To do what?
to either, to vote on whether to deny or, we want to take them one at a time, or?
What's your
how
motion,
you-
I guess?
What's your motion?
It's
Do you
either
want
to
just
deny or request.
Deny or request, or?
I'll make a motion to approve the
Okay.
request.
Okay, you make a motion to approve?
support that
Yeah,
motion.
Support that, Councilmember Moser, okay.
Madam Mayor and Council, we are going to allow for a brief presentation from their attorney that we have held a roundtable that the mayor and council had directed me to schedule a roundtable. David Haynes helped put that together with the local residents. We did hear their concerns. From what I understood, it was a very beneficial meeting to hear out the residents. The developers have taken those concerns into some site changes and plan changes, so I do allow them the due process to come up here and present that to the council. I will remind you, it is the recommendation of the administration and the city manager to approve this, this site plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much again to the council. Currently, I already discussed the major points, but I did have some things that I wanted to present in terms of these foam boards to help the council visualize what this area is going to look like. If you'll give me.
Can we bring those over here? I know this is, can we bring those over here so the council can see it? Since they're the ones voting on this?
Just kind of set them right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and these are renderings, by the way, that are showing how the site will look. The bottom is how it currently appears, whereas the top is how it's planned to appear after the development. Now, these are showing the current facility, which previously was a bank, and it's showing them from different points of view, mostly facing southwest, south, and southeast. We also, and this dovetails into some of the comments I think that were made earlier, these are the types of vegetation that will be actually utilized throughout the property. The southern border of the property will be lined with very thick and hardy technique trees that are very good at blocking sound and are still aesthetically pleasing. Yes, if you could, thank you very much. We also have committed to making street side beautification along Division Street. It's going to be nearest to the block in the affected area, and it's going to be lining it with aesthetically pleasing trees.
Wow, you guys are like you building a house, building it.
Not that,
Turn the
the issue here is the crowd can't see them. Nor can they see us.
The main thing here with this board is I wanted to just outline what types of concerns were raised at the roundtable meeting and what we did to address them. And as you can see, there were some concerns regarding the southeastern border of the property, which overlapped with one of the residents. We did agree to extend the perimeter of it. We did reach out to city employees about concerns regarding property values and increase in crime, and we did receive emails from both of those employees confirming that that there was no evidence that had occurred in this case. We responded to concerns regarding traffic congestion by redesigning our site plan to have only one point of entrance and egress on 10th Street. And this actually did cause us to make significant modifications to the site. If you look at that one there on your far left, you'll see that previously there was a drive-through canopy. We have decided to remove that in order to make sure that we have more ability to have traffic flowing in and out of the site. And also you'll see that in the areas where these entrances and exits previously were here, we're installing some very nice looking sugar maple trees that will be in the places where the entrances and exits used to be. And a lot of this is not only going to be aesthetically pleasing, but really it's going to be blocking any view and any concerns that may have. It's going to be an insulated area in for this. And as we also, as I previously mentioned, did commission a traffic study of the affected area, and that traffic study did conclude that there was unlikely to be a significant impact on traffic in the affected area. I say all this really to illustrate that we have taken all of the comments and criticisms from the neighborhood residents seriously, and that we've moved to act on them in, I think, an exemplary way that really addresses this. And I do think that the planned site is going to be a beautiful and aesthetically pleasing thing that will be an asset for the neighborhood. And I would certainly be happy to answer any questions that the council may have. I also know that John Guma is here, and he is well versed in the technical aspects of the plan. And with that, I'll use my time. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, in over here, is this where the neighborhood starts in this one right here? Is that a barrier of some type right there?
Are you referring to the far left one?
Yeah, the far left.
That would be, as I understand it, looking east from 10th Street into, this is what is going to be the main point of entrance. This is going to be the sole point of entrance and egress under the new plan. We've widened it out. We plan to widen it out significantly so that we can accommodate both inbound and outbound traffic. And there were concerns raised about having entrances and exits off of Division Street. And in light of those, we decided to redesign it so that it would just have one point of entrance and egress, and therefore it wouldn't have any points of entrance or egress on Division Street.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Mayor Ashford?
Yes.
Unless any council wants to point to any of the boards, I would ask that if we could maybe put them here now so that the public can see them.
Certainly.
That's a good point.
And us. Thank you. We can see them.
Yeah.
They were driving me crazy. And then I guess I'll begin the discussion.
Yeah,
I
okay.
thought we were discussing
Go right
before
ahead.
motion,
Is your
but since we
motion?
didn't. I would like to say thank you to the parties involved, both those wanting to open the dispensary as well as the neighbors that came to that meeting and sat down and talked about what could be done. I know we've talked multiple times about possibly not wanting this to be there and knowing we really truly have no legal recourse to say no. So I'm very pleased that they are taking the extra step to spend a little extra money to do some things, or a lot of extra money according to them, but to do some things to make it at least a little bit more palatable. I know there are people in the neighborhood that are never going to want this. I can't say that I would either, to be honest. And so, but I do want to at least say thank you for taking the time to sit and listen and take into consideration what they wanted, what they didn't like, and at least make some changes to your proposal based on what you heard in that feedback.
Is there anyone else? We do have, before we read Jeff's, does anybody else have anything? You, James?
Oh, I'd just like to add, we've reviewed this on an administrative level. We didn't know what to expect when the marijuana stores opened, to be quite frankly. You didn't know what to expect. We heard doom and gloom. We now have significant amounts of them throughout the city, and we have not had issues with any of them. We had a minor traffic issue with jars when people would not understand it was a one-way and you couldn't park in the middle of the road. That has since been mostly resolved. Moses Rosers, High Club, whatever the other one is, the Consumption Lounge. These are all within a stone's throw of homes. The ones by Edison Shores, we had a lot of blowback by that one, Moses Roses. Now that it's open, we haven't had any issues. People now realize it's not the end of the world and it works out pretty well. I think they have taken every step to remediate any concern. They've gone above and beyond what they legally had to do. They did not legally have to do any of this. I do want to point that out. They've gone to respond to the concerns of the neighborhood. I can't point to another case throughout the city which we could show adverse effects to a neighborhood. And at the same time, I do want to remind folks that this ordinance was passed by about 75% of the voters that made this property eligible. That is something I just want to remind folks. This is not an ordinance that we passed, ours was overturned. But this was a voter approved, specifically even higher numbers in that voting precinct. So anyways, I appreciate what you guys have done. You've gone above and beyond. Thank you.
And then, just before other councilmen weigh in, and what was it? I remember the conversation about the ordinance that they had us kind of like over the barrel anyway.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
So the mayor and council, we worked for several years to look at what was happening around the state, and to pick the good and the bad and develop a very comprehensive ordinance that we would take into effect the neighborhoods and really put local control in where these shops could go. And then an outside group did a ballot petition to overturn that ordinance and to implement their own. And that is what passed by 75%. I think a lot of people didn't know what it was, and they thought just marijuana, vote yes. But we're stuck with that. We can't change it until a certain time period, which is coming up soon. But these licenses were issued under that ordinance. So even if we change that ordinance, we have to respect the current one that these licenses were issued under. And so that we really had no choice.
Okay. And then with the licenses, what was it? How many do we have? 6, 9? Or
7.
7. And so they were strategically spread out. I mean,
They were scored. Well, actually, it was not really a lot of thought and opinion. It was more of a metrics. It was scored a scoring system, and they were awarded based on scores.
Oh, okay, so as to where the locations,
Yes.
the locations where they are.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Mayor Ashford, before we read Jeff Pemberton's statement, I do want to ask a question regarding one of the public comments was, obviously, we hope there would be no issues, but if there are, for their purposes, what are the recourse that the city and/or city council have to address that and make them comply?
Simply like our zoning and blight enforcement. If there's issues with zoning issues, and traffic issues, we can address that. I'd have to know what the specific issue is and how we'd address it, but yes.
Thank you.
And just one question. You did say, obviously, this wouldn't affect this case or upcoming, but when is the timing where this will be?
We can begin working on it now, hopefully.
Okay.
And that is something I've directed Al to begin looking at, what will possibly change.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more? Okay. May read that.
Okay, so this is a statement that was submitted by Councilmember Pemberton. Council members, my apologies for my absence this evening. I wanted to provide some commentary on the special use permit decision before us. As we discussed when this previously came before our board, we have a legal responsibility to approve the special use permit. There is no legally justifiable reason to deny it. While I completely understand there are residents unhappy with this decision, the vote of over 75% of the residents must be upheld. During the last meeting, we suggested this company meet with the residents before the decision would come back to the council. They made every effort to do so. Furthermore, it is my view that this company has gone above and beyond what is required of them to try and alleviate the concerns of the neighboring residents and has shown that those concerns are non-issues in this scenario. They have already proven themselves to be good neighbors without any legal responsibility to do so. I understand that marijuana shops bring up a lot of passion in people who love them and hate them. I could not be more indifferent. However, I am passionate about doing what is right, even if it's unpopular. We cannot wield the special use permit as a weapon of discrimination. Instead, we must treat businesses fairly and impartially. To deny this special use permit would be unfair to the business and the residents of the city.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now we will move forward to, your motion was to vote to deny or approve? Okay. Can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Payton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Mayor Ashford?
No. I'll say no, my no vote is not, I know it's the law, and also, I'm not so much worried about how pretty you can make things. I'm more worried about people's lives than I am anything else, and I'm sure you all are too. But I'm kind of heavy into that, the people and what it does, so I'm looking beyond that point. But I thank you for all that you've done to, you know, adhere to all the changes. I thought that was great. So I'm not dismissing that, you know, but it's just that I just can't get over trying to make, you know, we took an oath of office about health and safety and everything, and at the end of the day, that's where I am. So thank you so very much. Okay, so.
Can you leave your boards? Thank you.
Okay, you all set? Okay.
Yep, we're all set on that.
So, okay, so where am I at? Okay, so we're at,
No, I'd like them for the public to see them after the meeting. They can walk up and look. Yes,
Oh.
thank you.
so we're from the city manager?
Receive and file the annual comprehensive financial report for the year ended June 30th, 2024.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Support. Okay, it's been properly moved by Councilmember Mosrak and second by Councilmember Lamb. Take the roll, please.
Madam Mayor and Council, sorry about that. Madam Mayor and Council, I have asked our auditors to come down, and they're going to give a quick master class on how fast they can get through a PowerPoint presentation.
Wasn't trying to forget you, I just was on a roll.
We will do our best.
Okay,
Thank you, Mayor and City Council, members of City Council. My name is Dave Holisek. I'm an audit partner with Plant Moran this evening. Our senior manager, Dana Delboy, and we're here to present the results of the annual comprehensive financial statement audit for the city of Port Huron for the year ended June 30th of 2024. Our deliverables before tonight really involved two documents, the largest being the financial statement itself, and we also had a required communication to those charged with governance. The annual report is really a document that is the city's document. We take the information and audit, and then we issue an opinion on it. So really, the opinion is what Plant Moran ends up contributing to the document. And as a result of our audit, we were able to give the financial statements an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that we can give a set of financial statements. What that means is the statements as presented fairly reflect the financial position of the city as of June 30th of 2024. The changes in the financial statement, the revenues, the expenditures, the statements of cash flows, as well as all the notes that are included within the document. So again, as a result of our procedures, we're happy to give that opinion after performing our audit procedures. The majority of our presentation will be the graphs that were passed out this evening and will be projected on the overhead above. If you have any questions as we go through it, please feel free to raise your hand or just shout it out, and we'll address it as it goes along. I will turn it over to Dana.
All right, so as Dave mentioned, I'm just going to do a quick overview of the financial statement highlights for June 30th, 2024 fiscal year end. So this slide here shows the 5-year history of the general fund's primary revenue streams. You can see here the largest source of revenue is taxes, which includes property taxes and income taxes, and this accounts for approximately 60% of total revenues for the city. The increase from 2023 to 2024 is primarily a result of the increase in taxable values. The next two highest revenue streams are state sources, which includes state shared revenue and other. The other revenue did decrease compared to last year. However, there were federal grants received last year that played a factor, with 2023 being a bit of an outlier on the far right there. This slide covers the general fund expenditures. So you can see here public safety is the largest category, making up about 48% of general fund expenditures. Across the board, these were fairly consistent with last year, with an overall increase of less than 0.5%. And this slide here really just ties together the data from the last two slides in comparison to fund balance. So the orange bars represent the expenditures and the transfers out, and the blue bars representing the revenue and transfers in. And fund balance is represented there by the line that hovers around the $7 million mark. Expenditures did exceed revenues overall for the year. As mentioned previously, they were consistent with expenditures were consistent with last year. However, there was a decrease in revenue during the year, specifically as it relates to federal grants. This slide here gives a broader perspective, really just to capture how all of the city's fund balance is classified. This shows the city's governmental funds, and the colors there shaded in the bars represent the type of fund balance within those governmental funds. So the two largest categories here are restricted and non-spendable. Majority of the non-spendable relates to Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund. And the second largest is restricted fund balance, which is amounts that are restricted by outside parties. And majority of the restricted does relate to street maintenance and repairs. And then the unassigned fund balance represents approximately $6.1 million, which is all within the general fund and resources that can be used throughout the city. The line near the top of the graph shows expenditures, which was approximately $56.5 million at the end of 2024. And then you can see lastly, the unassigned fund balance remains pretty stable as shown in the last 3 years here. So this slide shows the continued progress of the city in managing the pension and OPEB as it relates to legacy cost. So focusing on the pension plan first here on the left-hand side, just as a reminder, the city does measure the liability using a 1231 valuation, which aligns with MERS. So the funding position of the plan drastically improved when the pension bonds were issued, which is reflected in all 3 years presented here. The orange bars representing the net liability, and changes in this category year over year primarily relate to investment performance. The right-hand side here is the OPEB plan. The decrease in overall net liability is due to changes in actuarial assumptions as it relates to the annual healthcare trends. But overall results are fairly consistent from June 30th, 2023 to June 30th, 2024.
Real quick, just to add this, so the greater the unfunded liability we had in our pension, market conditions would create a greater pendulum swing. So because we've been able to put stabilize such as large net position of our pension, when there are market fluctuations, the market goes up or down every quarter over a year, that's less room for that pendulum to swing, which has really put a lot of stability in our budgeting process and for years to come. It just really shows the underscore of that.
Okay, and on this slide, this really just gives an outlook of what the next few years are anticipated to look like for pension contributions. This information is as of 12/31/23, which is your most recent MERS valuation, and is based on current assumptions, which, those assumptions can change from year to year. So when the contributions are based on payroll and the city has to fund the benefits for your active employees, these projections using current assumptions are expected to increase, as you can see here.
Madam Mayor and Council, again, I want to add, when we look at our labor contracts, the experience study projects a 3.5% annual wage increase, right around 3.5. So in some years we gave 5% because we had to deal with the talent shortage and market issues, but that did reflect directly to the fringe side of it and the liability. So take that into consideration as we move forward.
Excuse me, what's your bar chart here? You took it.
I can go back.
Yeah, so in 2024, where we are, and then the projection as it going up, what's the driver that's driving that up?
The healthcare cost trends.
The healthcare costs?
Yes, primarily.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then I had another question regarding the state contribution to us seemed pretty flat. The federal is big. Can you just speak through that? And we don't count on all that federal for our spending, correct?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Because we don't see that increasing. We're not counting on.
No, I think the state revenue sharing, we can maybe anticipate 2 to 3%. Although they had their revenue estimating conference this past week, the state of Michigan is now up about $500 million this year. They project another $600 million next year. But again, the legislators have no discussion on revenue sharing. It's something that we're working on, but I think Lansing likes to spend the people's money better than they like to get it back, so.
Yeah, and better yet, we did have a bill for the state revenue sharing, and it was turned down, as you probably already know. And what that would have done, if it wasn't turned down, we would have had a dedicated amount that we could depend on to help us with this, and we would know where we are. So, yeah, but we're going to keep working. Okay, proceed.
So this slide shows the city's net position for governmental activities on the left-hand side and then business-type activities on the right-hand side. So starting with the left, on the governmental net position, you can see it was negative up until 2022 and has continued to stay positive and grow year over year. So this now stands as at a positive 34 million for the most recent fiscal year end. And also on the right-hand side, you can see net position for business-type activities is at 117 million. So this really just shows the same data, but it's just in a combined format for capturing the governmental and business-type activities together. So net position in 2023 was 139 million and is 152 million for the 2024 fiscal year end. So with that, happy to open up to any additional comments or questions.
Yeah, can I get a little bit more explanation on, we got this communication from our finance director on the city's change in its method of allocating the fringe benefit internal service fund. Can you expound upon that?
Yeah. So the fringe benefit fund is recorded in an internal service fund. So to be clear, that hasn't changed.
Oh.
It will continue to be recorded as such. When you, for the most part, you're reporting all your financial data really on a modified basis of accounting and then on a full accrual basis of accounting. So those first maybe 2 to 3 statements in your financial statement, you take your modified information and kind of create a full accrual presentation. When it comes to internal service funds themselves, the standards require you to make a determination on whether or not the activity in there is insignificant to just include it when it gets rolled up in the governmental activities part of it, or should it also be included in the business type. So when we talked with the finance departments this year, historically, all of this activity has just been rolled up into the governmental activity. Really a portion, and when we're talking about the fringes, we're really talking about the debt that was issued on the OPEBS bonds. That's really what's driving that. And we know that part of that debt is being paid down by the business type funds because they have the employees some of the employees that are receiving that benefit. So instead of rolling up this internal service fund on a full accrual basis to 100% governmental, it's just rolled up 80% governmental and approximately 20%. It doesn't impact anything you do on an overall basis. It just better reflects the actual flow of cash to pay down that debt.
So is it real?
Pardon me?
Is it real? I mean, what you're telling me, so what's the benefit for us? I mean,
it probably better reflects ultimately where that debt is going to be paid out of on a full accrual basis. On a fund-by-fund basis, it will still be paid out of your internal service fringe benefit fund, but it gets rolled up. When it gets rolled up, it only shows in 2 places, governmental or business type. The internal service fund has to go into one or the two, or it gets allocated. And the way you're presented now, probably better, not probably, I think we agree with the city that it better reflects where that ultimate liability, where those debt service payments are coming from.
Oh.
It shouldn't have any impact on your budget process or anything else that you're presenting. It's just an allocation and presentation of your GASB 34 funds.
Okay, I just, when somebody changed something, you want to know why you're changing it. I don't want the people that we're serving to be, in the fog about this.
Yeah, so keep in mind, these are your statements, so we don't change anything. This was the discussion that we had with finance on that and whether or not this would be better reflective of really what's happening as the city as it relates to those debt payments.
In other words, it'd be better strategically, financially wise than the way we're reporting it. and showing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just better reflects
Oh,
the
okay.
flow.
All right, I can live with that. Thank you.
And just to that, maybe to that point, maybe not specifically relate to that change, but the information and the communications and really all the assistance that we got from Lee and Bob and the entire finance department to conduct this year's audit was terrific. New partner on the account, so there's a lot of questions I had, and I probably tried them at times as to, asking questions or answering questions that they'd probably been asked before, but they did a terrific job of getting us what we needed. So even though we're here presenting in January, we did complete the audit before the end of the year and submit it to the Department of Treasury as required within the 180 days of your year end.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
Just maybe a comment and a question. My understanding is we were pretty proactive taking action against pension versus maybe some other cities. The bar graph looks amazing. I mean, great work. But you just mentioned that you turn this into the Treasury. Do we have any idea where we rank versus how the other cities finished? Do they roll that up totally at some point? Will we kind of see our scorecard versus other cities in Michigan?
So as far as pensions are, as far as the pension liability is concerned, I'm not aware that they score you on it. What I will say is they do grade you if you don't kind of hit the minimum thresholds. So they deem you to have basically a troubled or underfunded liability or underfunded pension or OPEB liability if you haven't met if you're not at least 40% funded in your OPEB when you issued the bonds, that clearly got you above that number, and you're above the 60% for pension. So I would say there's no grading, but you're not getting gigged or put under a corrective action plan by not missing or making those minimum thresholds.
I would note that there are 23 townships, 8 cities, and I believe 2 or 3 villages in the county. The majority of the cities have now had to file corrective action plans. So when we were taking this issue on, one of the rubs that really bothered me is we were taking on the pension issues, the OPEB issues. Everyone says, well, we don't have the problem Port Huron does. And it's because they weren't being honest with their actuarials or their valuations. And so one of the things that changed in the 2017 law that I worked on in Lansing was to create a universal data points of using the experience studies, certain amortization periods and all of that, rate of returns, to normalize the rate of returns. Some people would use 8.5% when it should have been closer to 6.5% to 7%. So now that we have apples to apples we're comparing to communities across the state, all of a sudden the crisis is now emerging in municipalities very close to us. And so I do worry about municipalities across the state of Michigan, because one of the things I talked about a lot when we were doing our workout period is whenever you have a transformational financial plan, you must have a workout period, and I called it a landing path to a safe landing. Much time has passed, and that runway has run out for a lot of communities, and so I think we're going to see some very dramatic cuts to public services across the state for communities that didn't take action.
And can you just speak briefly to our fund balance? Are we good there? Or?
From a fund balance perspective,
yes.
yeah, I mean, you're trying, for the most part, GFO, I would say if you're running into that 15%, kind of fund balance as a percentage of expenditures. Mm-hmm. So you're doing okay there, but I always say that you really need to look at this prospectively versus where you're at, mm-hmm. Because I'm sure as part of all of your budget sessions, especially if you're doing multi-year projections or capital planning, part of what you've got to look at is what's going to happen outside your current budget year and even more years out to determine that you've got the resource available to fund upcoming projects. When we're gotta be careful, I don't want to revert back to 2008 and 2009, but I'm going to. The reason that you've got fund balances is if there's some unforeseen circumstances like property tax values are cut in half, which hinders probably one of your largest revenue source. If there's this, without the passage of the pension trust, or I'm sorry, the state shared revenue trust, where the statutory monies are put aside and have to be used, there's always the ability for the state, as part of their budget process, to lower some of the revenue sharing. So you've got to be prepared. It's really there to be prepared for, unexpected circumstances, so the city has the ability to react in case something unforeseen were to be put in front of you.
Madam Mayor, I would point out, beginning my first year in 2014, I implemented what's called multi-year budget forecasting. So when we adopt our budget, there's 3 years of budget forecasting into that budget. We are the only municipality in St. Clair County that does multi-year budgeting, which should I believe should be state statute.
Yeah, I think I heard that somewhere at the state level.
Mayor Ashford?
Yes.
You're talking about at least a 15% fund balance. Is there a maximum that, a threshold where you hit where it's like, okay, maybe you're taking in too much money and not doing what you should be doing?
Yeah, that's hard. That's really hard to do because it really, I would compare, a city the size of Port Huron, and I wouldn't say that necessarily the same number or same percentage would be, for instance, one of your smaller township neighbors. Their ability to tax or raise revenues is quite different from the city standpoint. I suspect it's something you talk about during your budget process. It's certainly nothing that I would want to kind of come out, because the answer might be something higher, but there's a reason that it would need to be higher. So as long as you're having that discussion when you're going through your budget process, and it sounds like you're doing that, if you've certainly got 2 to 3 years budget out there, I wouldn't put a high on. But to be honest, on townships, which I know is a completely different set of form of government, and they're somewhat limited, I mean, sometimes we're seeing them up to 60, 70, 80%, because they do not have the ability to raise funds the same way a city may.
So, Madam Mayor and Council, I would point out, I appreciate your answer, but the correct answer is we follow what's called the bond rating agencies, and we adopted a debt policy and also a fund balance policy in 2014 and in 2015 in accordance with Standard & Poor's best practices. Our goal per our policy is 25%, given both our operating budget size and our current capital cost. So we have a policy already adopted that was one of the requirements to get our bond rating up, and it is 25%. And so those are available for the public wants to see the debt policy and the fund balance policy that has been recommended by the bonding rating companies, the bond agencies. That is what is at 25%.
Yeah, but I can appreciate where you were coming from. I have a little knowledge there, so yeah, appreciate that. And I also like to thank our Lee back there. He's our finance director. He's very good at what he does with our numbers, and I know he works well with you guys to make this happen in this report. And even though we just got this report, tonight, I didn't go through it or anything, but we will, hopefully, all of us usually go through them. I guess they do, I don't know. But I know I do, just to make sure, because it's one thing about any council throughout America. I mean, it's one thing that we are responsible for, and we can't say it's not our job, but number one is the budget. People want a lot of things, but how are you going to pay for it? So we have to make sure that we have some kind of basic knowledge of what we're doing financially wise. So. And then have an intelligent conversation with you. So appreciate your input tonight.
Great working with you folks. Again, Lee does an excellent job. To the public, tomorrow, probably around before lunch, we will upload this document to www.porthuron.gov/open-government if you would like to read our audit. It's great. Fun read. Really fun read.
All these numbers. Okay, thank you. So, are there any more questions before they sit down? Okay, all set. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. Okay, from the manager, number 2.
I'll take the vote first.
Oh, we didn't even vote. You did so good, I forgot to take the vote. See what you did? You owe me lunch. Okay, take the vote. Take the vote, please.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Payton?
Yes.
Mayor Ashford?
Yes. Now we're from the city manager, number 2.
Receive and file the quarterly financial report for the 3-month period ending September 30th, 2024.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Switch to support.
Councilmember Mosrak moved it, and second by Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. there any discussion?
Just point out that our revenue is slightly up, which is good. Our expenditures are in line where they should be. They're slightly higher than if you gauge the 25% every quarter, but we had one-time expenditures this quarter, like insurance costs and certain healthcare costs to be paid. So it's looking good.
So we're just slightly up.
No, we're right on target.
We're on target?
Yep, we're gonna end this budget year good.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, are there any questions? Okay, hearing none. Okay.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Peyton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Ashford?
Yes. Now we will go to our resolutions. Resolution number 1.
Number 3.
Oh, where's number 3? Oh, number 3, I'm sorry, forgive me. Accepting the, go ahead.
Accepting the sole source quote from Motorola Solutions Incorporated in the amount of $53,102.82 for the purchase of 9 Motorola radios and accessories for use by the police department.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Councilmember Lamb moved it, and second by Councilmember Mosrak. Is there any discussion? The only discussion I have is, at least this is not taking, you got grant funding, so this is ARPA and grant funding, so we don't have to put any money in. So that's always a good sign that we can use those dollars that way. Okay, so no discussion. Take the roll, please.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Peyton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Mayor Ashford?
Yes. Now we will move to resolutions. 1.
Authorizing 21 payments.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Lamb moved, second
Support?
by Councilmember Mosrak. Is there any discussion? Okay, I think I got a discussion. Is, I know, just under, and this takes in itemized payment, and I'll just talk about these two together. 1 deals with the retainer gate. Is there anything else on that? I mean, I know they're not doing any work.
The
This
retainer?
type of- Yeah, the retainer gate.
Yeah, they're still putting in, finishing off the cofferdam.
Oh, okay. And also, I met with our state representative this morning, and he asked us if we would, he asked me about the cost. I know you sent him a previous letter, you and the former mayor, and now I'm requesting you send another letter and you include how much money you might need, because he has to have that.
The number's the same.
The number's the same?
The number's the same.
You sure? Okay, because I'm just talking from him. He said he would like us to still send him a
Yep,
letter.
I've emailed, I think I sent you all the email I sent as well to their legislative staffer who was inquiring about that. I gave the representative-elect a copy of the letter, and our goal is to get that in the state budget appropriations, so.
Could you send it again to me, because I don't recall it, so.
Yep, I think.
I'm just going from what he's.
Yep, I think I sent it last week. Everyone got it? Last week, I think everyone got that, yep.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. And you already spoke to the pocket park, so we won't, kind of beat that to death. So I just wanted to make sure about that. And then the construction on the MOC, how is that going?
It's good. We have to keep the north lot closed until spring because they can't put the coating on because you need a certain amount of days above 40 degrees. Of course, we don't have that. And so they did have to replace a significant amount of more tension cables, and there was more concrete voids. So it was a lot more work than we anticipated. It's just a testament to how badly that project had to be done.
Gosh, okay. Well, thank you. Okay, I just wanted to get some accountability on those things, see what's happening. And so, but you said the pocket park is going to be long and drawn out, right, because of it?
Well, the issue is we have a contractor who's failed to produce the product as it's spec'd and bidded, and so we are working with the contractor to correct that and hope to avoid litigation. But our position is coming close to we've had enough, and so we hope to have this open by June. If this contractor can get it done, we'll be glad to see that. If not, we will pull bid bonds and we will have another contractor do it.
And just to reiterate, we will have the trees, some more trees.
Yeah, we'll get
put
some
out
trees
there.
there. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I agree. I was really sad to see that tree go as well.
Yeah, it looks empty.
It does, barren.
Yeah, bare, yeah. Okay, is there any more questions or comments on that, or any other because you can't speak to these items and know where they are. We pay for them, we should want to know how they are, getting any updates that we can.
And I guess just to clarify, one, I appreciate you being straight up with that project. So what you said is that if, hopefully they'll make the corrections and by June, but if not, and we have to go a different direction, we're not going to wait for the full settlement. We're going to try to get that fixed.
Oh, no, I'm ready to pull bid bonds now. In fact, I think I can tell you, I don't want to speak
No.
too out of turn here, but we are moving quickly to resolve the problem.
Thank you. That's,
Yeah.
Okay, we're all set? We're all set, okay, call the roll.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Peyton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Ashford?
Yes. Our next resolution is number 11 there.
Accepting the agreement between Giffords Webster and the City of Port Huron for professional planning and design services for the Marina Land Use Study.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Mosrak and second by Councilmember Lamb. Any discussion?
Yeah, Madam Mayor and Council, and to the public, as you all know, we're going to begin demolishing the old central fire station, which will open up a very large swath of land. And so there's two reasons for this study. First, everyone asks, what's going to happen to the old fire station site? Well, we really don't know. We don't know what's possible, and there needs to be a partnership and a collaboration through this study, working with SC4 and the various stakeholders along that stretch of riverfront on what is possible, what the community would be open to. Remember, nothing can happen there without a vote of the public. So it is considered waterfront property, and per our charter, whatever plan we develop will have to go to the ballot box for voter approval. And so we really want to do a good job studying what can be done there and bringing options to the public, probably in a ballot initiative sometime in a year or so, on what can be built there. There's a second reason for this study as well. We are in the midst of updating our master plan. There were two key pieces of information we needed to really do a better job with our master plan. One is the housing study, which we have, and the mayor and council will be holding a special work session to have the consultants go through that housing study and the results of that, which is very interesting. The second component is this land use study. We'd like to have the planning commission take into account future possibilities into the master plan update so that we can help guide the city for the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years. The cost of this is about $23,000.
$23,000?
Yep, which is a good price. We'll be able to do some of the surveying work with our own outside firm already.
Okay, so it'd be some like sub stuff that we have to
Yep.
do. Okay, any questions on that?
Maybe not, but back to public comment, you were able to clarify why one road repair fixed, but this is the first time I've heard about the manhole covers. Is there any
I'll have to look into it.
rationale?
Yeah, we'll have to look into it, yep.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I think with that, we took those streets down and stuff, right? During public hearing.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
okay,
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Is it, that's all? That's it for you guys? Okay. Okay, roll please.
Councilmember Peyton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Mayor Ashford?
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all your patience tonight with us, and hope you got something out of tonight. If you didn't, just call anybody up here if you didn't understand anything, or we're here for you. You're the bosses.
Mayor Ashford, I may interrupt you for 1 second. With the special meetings, why do we host them up on the 4th floor, and why can't we just have them in this room here and have them televised? Since they're open to the public, why don't we do that?
I had to.
Yeah, these are sessions that no legislative action's being taken, no ordinance we could pass, nothing, no legislative votes would be done. These are just simply work sessions, and it provides some more ability intimately, so you can talk to the consultants, ask questions to the staff.
Okay.
And we typically have very low turnout. We've never had an issue with seating there.
Yeah, and that's a good question, because sometimes, just like the last special meeting we had, somebody asked me why wasn't it televised?
Yeah, I'd just like to have as much transparency as possible, because then we don't have to answer as many questions and people can see what's being conducted
Right,
there.
that's very good. Yeah, I was going to ask you guys if you had anything last thing, but I was thank our people out here today. And those on TV that's watching us, if you ever, get stuck on anything, if you need to know anything, just like I said, just feel free to call us, and I'm sure the city manager, he's always at his phone.
Yep.
And so we do have a couple announcements for you. The city offices will be closed on Monday, January the 20th, in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And also with that same day, the city of Port Huron usually annually recognize Martin Luther King Day, starting with Operation Transformation. They have a sort of like a religious ceremony. It's going to be at Kingdom Empowerment on Lapeer. And they're all very well attended. People throughout the city attend, and so you might want to, drop in there. It's very moving, and it's a good thing, relationship buildings and knowing more about Dr. King as versus yesterday of dream, but more like what we're doing today, and how does that coincide with a dream. So I think they're going to be doing that. And then come around SC4 on January the 20th at 6 o'clock will also be another tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King. There will be a play that is performed by Deborah McNair, one of our outstanding residents out here. She does a lot with the performing arts, and so she will be directing a play over there during that time. And I also would like to thank some of our residents that contacted me. We're having a lot of storms and people talking about the streets and the snow and everything. And I'm not going to read them, but they did send me emails, said that our people were right on it. Not everybody, but maybe one person or two had an issue, but they were just complimenting our department that deals with the snow, DPW. That deals with the snow, and they appreciate it because they did have a complaint at first, and we still got some more winter to go. So I just ask you just to be patient. They have a process that they use, the main streets, I think the secondary streets that they do. So it's not that they don't want to get to them, it's just that they want to, follow the process and get to them before we get out into the neighborhoods and everything. So we just appreciate that, okay? So with that,
Madam Mayor, I would like to say real quick before we close, in regards to the pocket park, and it is dragging out, this is, although it's frustrating that it's taken a long time, it's because we don't accept bad work. The concrete work wasn't done properly, the rails weren't the proper heights. It would have been very easy for us to accept work. Probably most people wouldn't have noticed it, but it's not what we bid out and it's not what we paid for. And so we hold our contractors to very high standards. And it is awkward that it takes a few more months to get it done right, but we don't accept subpar work. I just think if you have to treat taxpayer money like it's your own money, and if that work was done shoddy on your own home, you wouldn't accept it either. And so that's why this is taking longer, but we will accept the product that we bid out.
thank you. I'm glad you're doing that, because we're going to blame you if something goes wrong. And that's no joke. All right, okay. You know what, you all need something, but Happy New Year, and be kind to each other and all that good stuff. Oh, somebody adjourned?
Yeah, we got it.
We adjourned.